Oh, geez. Sorry about that. Anyway, the Rockies take on the Nationals, 7:05 Eastern start time. Colorado's minus 120, totals 8.5. And if you like the Nationals in an upset at home, they're plus $1 for some money line cash. Now they're also minus 165, catching the 1.5 on the run line. Josiah Gray's on the mound for Washington. German Marquez for Colorado. We went 4-0 in our premium sports picks on my BrockPage.com website yesterday. And if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website. And once again, that's BrockPage.com. That puts us at 13-1 in our last 14 premium sports picks on that page. We also improved to 5-0 in our last 5 extra daily picks on that very same site. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, that's only going to cost you just $2.99. We currently have over 800 members who are signed up and active on that page. And once again, if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website. And once again, that's BrockPage.com. Now, Washington's Josiah Gray, he's averaging over a strikeout an inning. He's got 33 strikeouts in just 32 innings of work. This Nationals pitching staff's also in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed at home. They're taking on a Colorado team who's won just 23 out of 54 road games. This Colorado lineup's also dead last in the league in road hits. German Marquez has walked 56 batters this season and has double-digit losses. When it comes to the total in this one, 6 out of Colorado's last 10 meetings with Washington got over the line. The Rockies also saw 3 out of their last 6 road games get over the total as well. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Nationals plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next matchup, Indians-Yankees, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. The New York Yankees are minus 190, totals 9. Corey Kluber for New York, Zach Plesac for Cleveland. Plesac's 10-5 with a 1.16 whip. The Indians have won 2 out of their last 3. They're holding their opponents to just 7.6 hits a game when they travel. They're also taking on a Yankees club who ranks in the bottom 5 in hits on average per game at home. The Bombers are being held to just 7.3 hits a game at Yankee Stadium. They're also averaging nearly double-digit home strikeouts a game at the plate. Now, Corey Kluber comes into today's contest with a 4.02 ERA and a 1.31 whip. When it comes to the number in this one, New York's going 41-31 to the under on their home field. Meanwhile, the Indians went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Indians plus 1.5 and the under 9. Next ball game, it is going to be Twins versus the Blue Jays, 7:07 East. Toronto's minus 220, totals 9.5. Hyun-Jin Ryu for Toronto, Michael Pineda for Minnesota. Pineda's just 6-7 on the season for the last place Twins. Minnesota's 19 games under 500, and they're in the bottom 3 in runs allowed per game. They're taking on a Toronto club who's in the top 3 in scoring. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is hitting .317 with 45 home runs and 103 RBI. Now, the Slugger's also in the top 3 in the majors in batting average, home runs, RBI, and OPS. This Toronto lineup's in the top 3 in hits on average per game. They also have Hyun-Jin Ryu on the bump here today. Ryu's got 13 wins on the year along with 131 strikeouts. When it comes to the total on this one, 7 out of Toronto's last 10 ball games got over the number. Minnesota's 48-25 to the over in their road games for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Toronto Blue Jays minus 1.5 and the over 9.5 runs. Next matchup, it is going to be Orioles versus the Red Sox, 7:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. Boston is minus 350, totals 10. Chris Sale for the Bo Sox, Keegan Aiken, for Baltimore. As bad as Aiken's been, the O's have successfully cashed in on the run line in 6 out of their last 10. Cedric Mullins is batting .301 with 29 home runs. The center fielder is also in the top 15 in both batting average and OPS. Meanwhile, Ryan Mountcastle's hit 29 home runs and knocked in 81. The O's are taking on a Boston club who failed to cash in on the run line in their last 4 straight at Fenway. And as good as Chris Sales looked on the hill, this Boston pitching staff's in the bottom 3 in hits allowed per game at home. 7 out of Boston's last 10 ball games got over the line. 3-1 to the over in their last 4 at home. Orioles 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Baltimore Orioles plus 1.5 and the over 10 runs. Let's do better. Next game, Tigers Rays 7:10 p.m. East. The Rays are minus 215. Totals 8.5. Luis Patino for Tampa. Casey Mize for Detroit. And as good as Mize has looked in many different starts, he still comes into today's ball game here today with a 7-8 record. This Tigers pitching staff's in the bottom 5 in hits allowed per contest on the road. Meanwhile, offensively, they're striking out over 9.9 times a game when they bat first. They're taking on a first-place Rays club who's got 91 wins on the year and the best record in the American League. Brandon Lowe's hit 34 home runs and knocked in 85. Meanwhile, Austin Meadows has 99 RBI on the year, which is 8th in the majors. This Rays lineup is in the top 3 in scoring. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Luis Patino's 4-3 on the year and averages over a strikeout an inning. Now, total-wise, Tampa Bay went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings, 6-4 to the under in their last 10 against Detroit. Meanwhile, the Tigers went 70% to the under in their last 10 themselves, 4-1 to the under in their last 5 on the road. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next contest, Phillies, Mets, 7:10 Flushing, Queens. Philadelphia's minus 130, total 7.5. Zach Wheeler for the Titans, Taijuan Walker for New York. Walker struck out 137 batters and has a 1.19 whip. New York's 43-31 straight up at Citi Field. And their pitchers are in the top 3 in fewest home hits allowed. They're giving up only 3.5 runs per contest in Flushing. They're taking on a Philly team who's got a losing record on the road. The Phils have also failed to cash in on the run line in 6 out of their last 10 ball games. Now, total-wise, 7 out of Philly's last 10 meetings with New York stayed under the line. Meanwhile, the Mets are 46-28 to the under on their home field. I'm going to lead toward the New York Mets plus 1.5 and the under 7.5 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Dodgers versus the Reds, 7:10 Eastern start time. The LA Dodgers are minus 170, totals 8.5. Walker Buehler for Los Angeles, Luis Castillo for Cincinnati. Castillo struck out 171 batters this season. The Reds are in the top 10 in striking batters out. Meanwhile, offensively, Nick Castellanos is batting .310, and he's also hit 29 home runs. The outfielders in the top 10 in both batting average and OPS. Meanwhile, Joey Votto smashed 30 home runs and drove in 88. He's 11th in the league in OPS as well. The Reds are in the top 5 in home scoring. They're taking on a Dodgers team who ranks in the bottom half of the league in strikeouts at the plate. This LA lineup is fanning nearly 9 times a game when they bat. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, the Dodgers are actually in the bottom 10 in walks allowed on the road. When it comes to the scoring in this one, LA went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games. Meanwhile, Cincinnati's 41-30 to the over at the Great American Ballpark. I'm going to lean toward the Cincinnati Reds plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next contest, Pirates, Marlins, 7:10 p.m. East. The Miami Marlins are minus 160, totals 8. Eliezer Hernandez for Miami. Will Crowe for Pittsburgh. Now, Crowe's got 95 strikeouts this year in just over 100 innings of work. The Pirates have won 6 out of their last 9 ball games, and their lineup's in the top 5 in fewest strikeouts at the plate. Brian Reynolds is batting .299 with 23 home runs and 86 ribbies. The left fielder is currently 16th in the league in both batting average and OPS. They're taking on a Marlins club who's 22 games below 500 themselves, and they also rank in the bottom 3 in scoring on average per contest. This Marlins lineup is striking out over 9.6 times a game. Eliezer Hernandez comes into today's start with a 4.14 ERA. Now, total-wise, 3 out of the Marlins' last 4 ball games at Lone Depot Park fell under the number. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's gone 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Pittsburgh Pirates plus 1.5 and the under 8 runs. Next contest, White Sox, Rangers, 8:05 Eastern start time. Chicago's minus 190, totals 8.5. Dylan Cease for Chicago, Taylor Hearn for Texas. And despite some pretty good stuff out of Taylor Hearn, the Rangers are 38 games below 500, and they rank dead last in the majors in offensive walks at the plate. They're taking on a first-place White Sox club who's in the top 5 in hitting. Jose Abreu's got 109 RBIs on the season. He's second in Major League Baseball in that category. Meanwhile, Tim Anderson's batting an even 300 on the year. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Dylan Cease has 11 wins on the season, along with a very impressive 202 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, the Rangers saw 7 out of their last 10 ball games get over the line, 4-0 to the over in their last 4 at Globe Life Field. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Mariners, Royals, 8:10 p.m. East. Both teams are minus $1.10, totals 8.5. Chris Flexen for Seattle, Brady Singer for Kansas City. Now, Singer's just 4-10 on this season, 4.85 ERA and a 1.56 WHIP. Once again, that's a 4.85 ERA. The Royals have a losing record at Kauffman Stadium, and they're in the bottom 5 in runs allowed at home. They're taking on a Seattle club who's in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed per 9. Chris Flexen, Instagram straight Flexen. He's 11-6 on the year with a 3.73 ERA and 107 strikeouts. And total-wise, Seattle saw their last 12 straight ball games all get over the number. Meanwhile, the Royals went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners minus $1.10 and the over 8.5. Next matchup, Cubs, Brewers, 8:10 Eastern first pitch. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 230, totals 9. Adrian Hauser for Milwaukee, Zach Davies for Chicago. Now, Davies is just 6-11 on the year, 5.40 ERA and a 1.55 WHIP. The Cubs lost 6 out of their last 8 ball games, and they strike out more at the plate than any other team in the bigs. They're taking on a Milwaukee club who's got a pitching staff who leads the majors in strikeouts per 9. Adrian Hauser's punched out 98 batters, and he's got himself a 9-6 record. The righty's also got a 3.25 WHIP. The Brewers are holding their opponents to just 3.7 runs a game. When it comes to the total in this one, Milwaukee's 20-11 to the under in their divisional home games. Meanwhile, the Cubs went 17-11 to the under against the NL Central on the road. I like the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 and the under 9. Next contest, Diamondbacks, Astros, 8:10 p.m. East. The Houston Astros are minus 230, totals 9. Brandon Bielak for the Astros, Madison Bumgarner for Arizona. Mad Bum's just 7-10 on the year, along with a 4.66 ERA. The last place D-backs are tied for the worst record in Major League Baseball. They also allow more runs on the road than any other team in the league. They're taking on a first-place Houston club who leads the majors in scoring. Yordan Alvarez has 30 home runs and 96 RBI. Meanwhile, Yuli Gurriel's hitting .315 at the plate, which is 4th in the majors. When it comes to the number in this one, 8 out of Houston's last 10 ball games got over the total. Meanwhile, the D-backs went 80% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 1.5 and the over 9. Next contest, Padres, Cardinals, 8:15 Eastern first pitch. The St. Louis Cardinals are minus 130, totals 9. Miles Mikolas for St. Louis, Vince Velasquez for San Diego. Now, Vinny's averaging over a strikeout an inning. The Pods have won their last 2 straight. Top 10 in the league and fewest runs allowed per contest. They're taking on a St. Louis club who's cashing in on the run line in just 44% of their home games. This Cardinals lineup has also been quite anemic at home. They're scoring only 3.7 runs a game at Busch Stadium. Miles Mikolas is 0-2 with a 5.47 ERA and a 1.41 whip. And when it comes to the total on this one, 5 out of St. Louis's last 7 home games stayed under the line. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres plus 1.5 and the under 9 runs. Next matchup, Angels hosting the A's, 9:38 Eastern Standard Time. The Oakland A's are minus 120, totals 9. Cole Irvin for the A's, no confirmed starter yet for Los Angeles. This Angels pitching staff's in the bottom 10 in the league in runs allowed at home. They're also walking 3.9 batters a game at Angels Stadium. They're taking on an A's club who won 5 out of their last 8 and also ranks in the top 3 in road hits. Matt Olson has an OPS of 917. He's hit 35 home runs and knocked in 101. The first baseman's currently in the top 10 in home runs, RBI, and OPS. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, Cole Irvin's got 9 wins on the year along with 109 strikeouts. When it comes to the total in this one, Oakland's 31-29 to the over against the AL West this year. Meanwhile, the Angels are 44-27 to the over on their home field. Give me the Oakland A's minus $1.20 and the over 9 runs of that, guys. Now it's time for our next and final matchup. Braves versus the Giants, 9:45 Eastern start time. San Francisco's minus 170, totals 8. Logan Webb for San Francisco, Ian Anderson for Atlanta. Anderson 7-5 with a 3.61 ERA and 107 strikeouts. The Braves actually play their best baseball on the road, top 10 in the league and fewest road hits allowed. They're also holding their opponents to just 3.8 runs a game when they travel as well. They're taking on a Giants club who lost their last 2 straight and failed to cash in on the run line in 2 out of their last 4 home games. This Giants lineup is in the bottom 10 in strikeouts per game. When it comes to the total in this one, 7 out of San Francisco's last 10 ball games got over the number. 3 wanted the over in their last 4 at Oracle Park. Meanwhile, the Braves went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs of that, guys. Now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where we are 13-1 in our last 14 premium sports picks on that site. I like Washington plus 1.5, over 8 and a hook. Cleveland plus 1.5, under 9 runs. Toronto minus 1.5, over 9.5 runs. Baltimore plus 1.5, over 10. Tampa Bay minus 1.5, under 8 and a hook. New York Mets plus 1.5, under 7.5 runs. Cincinnati plus 1.5, over 8 and a hook. Pittsburgh plus 1.5, under 8. Chicago White Sox minus 1.5, over 8.5 runs. Seattle minus $1.10, over 8 and a hook. Milwaukee minus 1.5, under 9. Houston minus 1.5, over 9 runs. San Diego plus 1.5, under 9. Oakland minus 120, over 9 runs. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 5-0 in our last 5 extra daily picks on my brockpage.com website. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves plus 1.5 and the over 8 runs of that, guys. Now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that's going to go to Andrew Grandison, who said yesterday, "This guy Brock is hilarious, just the way he talks." And I guess, I don't know if that's a compliment or if you're trolling me. But if it's a compliment, I don't know why it's so funny. Am I a clown? Do I amuse you? And if it's a troll job, well, I'm glad I wasted 15 seconds of your life posting that dumb comment. No, I'm totally just kidding. I think the way I talk is hilarious as well, and I think it's a great comment, and I certainly appreciate you taking the time to drop me a line in the comment section. Once again, Mr. Grandison. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website at brockpage.com. I'll tell you what, guys. If you end up getting a membership here today, just keep in mind you're going to get billed the day you sign up, and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of September. I always tell folks the earlier in the month that you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Friday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.